Isaac, Stuart, and this week we've got a special guest. Kiwi has rejoined the Contact podcast. Kiwi, you've been on the flag one now for the last few months, but it's always great to have you back on the Contact pod because we're going to be talking about the NWFL alignments. Last week we touched on the adult ones, spent about nearly an hour talking about just the alignments themselves. But we're on a time scale. Kiwi has got a Chinese ordered, so we are on a very strict timing right now. Okay.
I know. We do not want it to get cold.
So yeah, we'll just head straight into it. Why not? Stuart, this week we had the Southern Conference Cup final. The UWE Bullets taking on the Quimble Vipers. You were watching the game. What was your take on
it? I was kind of in and out the house on Sunday. I did get the offer to go down and commentate, but unfortunately, with it being Easter Sunday, I'd already committed to family plans. So yeah, I caught most of it. What was my take on it? The fourth quarter was phenomenal. If you were a UWE Bullet, that is. All 21 of their points came in the fourth quarter. It was very much 3 quarters of who's going to come up best against the wind. It was a ridiculously beautiful day, but with horrible wind. DCS streamed it and you could pretty much just hear the wind over their voices, but there was not a lot they can do from their vantage point, and with the technology and the meteorological elements that they were fighting. So yeah, we had to just watch the football, which was fine. Both defenses kind of balled out, which we thought they would based off what we had seen during the season. UWE were kind of multiple in what they were trying to do on offense, but obviously their pass game was curbed with the wind, and then QMBL just couldn't quite get their run game going against a formidable Bullets 2's defense. There was just 2 big plays in the fourth quarter that kind of sprung 2 scores. There was a big outside run play that went for about 60 odd yards for a touchdown. And then there was a blocked punt that Bullets recovered line and they were able to punt in, and then the third touchdown was just off of the back of momentum. So yeah, congratulations to Sam, the Bullets 2's. Really good season. Unfortunately, they don't get promoted. It was one of the oddities of this match, wasn't it, that Quimble were already promoted and Bullets were just fighting for that trophy, which they ultimately got to pick up at the end of the game.
Yeah, exactly. And we were supposed to have the Northern Conference Cup as well this weekend. That was scheduled. However, I think Lancashire couldn't really... Lancaster, same thing. Couldn't really field the team. I think that game's looking to get rearranged, but right now I think we're just waiting on both sides to agree at what point it's going to be arranged and who to, really. But yeah, we'll go straight on. Go on, Stuart.
Before we do, last person standing, we've had a massive update today. So we had 2 people that were remaining, but they went out after Bullets 2's beat Reading. We've been umming and ahhing at IBB Towers about how we're going to resolve this situation, and our headline sponsors EP Sports have come up trumps, and they have done us a massive solid favour and given us a second £50 gift voucher. So we've reached out to both of the contestants that went out in that game, and we have agreed that both teams, both players even, will receive £50 gift vouchers from EP Sports. I've spoken to them both today, both Alexander and Ben, and they're both happy with that outcome. So in the not too distant future, we will see the spoils of their £50 with EP Sports, and extremely thankful for EP giving us the second gift voucher. One, it's solved us a massive headache, and 2, it shows their continued support of Inside Britball going forward. So yeah, thank you to EP Sports. Thank you to everybody who entered. It was a fantastic competition. We have something similar coming up for the BAFA adult contact season. Unfortunately, not for the other 3 that we're going to go through tonight, because just putting this one together was a bit of a headache. But yeah, congratulations again to Ben and Alexander. We will reach out to you both and get you codes sorted. And if you guys could let us know what you purchase and perhaps send us a photograph with your spoils, we'll put photographs up of you on socials and celebrate that alongside EP Sports.
Yeah, massive thank you to everyone for getting involved, and EP Sports for the reward. I mean, I'm just annoyed that I didn't win it. But yeah, Siege, I won't be gambling on them again. They're dead to me. Right. So next, the entire reason why you're here, Kiwi, is this the NWFL alignment.
Isaac, I can't help. Wait. I feel like you keep wanting to talk about flag.
I know, right?
BUCS is flag, and I'm like,
I'm just, losing it slowly.
You just want to come that one game of flag that you tried to play, and you're addicted.
Yeah, right. I just wanted to hit someone, and I wasn't allowed to. You're really annoying. Okay. But no. But I also just got Chinese on my mind now. You just made me think of
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. But luckily enough, this year, unlike the mixed adult contacts, we've got all of our teams from last year rejoining the season this year, which is incredible. In the Premiership Nines, we'll see the Birmingham Lions, the London Warriors, Manchester Titans, the Solent Thrashers, and the Teesside Steelers. And in the Regional Sevens in the North, we'll see the Cheshire Bears, Newcastle Shield Maidens, and the Peterborough Royals. And in the South, we'll see the Cardiff Valkyries, Kent Exiles, and the Hertfordshire Cheetahs. Wow, I struggled with that. So, Kiwi, first of all, in the Premiership, is this just another Birmingham Lions London Warriors final, or can you maybe see a little something different?
Well, remember last year that it wasn't London Warriors in the final, and ultimately Solent Thrashers came up as champions last year for the first time. So it'll be interesting to see whether they can obviously come back and maintain kind of that momentum from last season to this season. They, from what I've seen, have kept their head coach, which is always a good start if you want to go in and defend a title, right? But they have had some retirements. So Steph Wyant, who also has another surname now that I can't remember because she got married. She was obviously GB running back, key part of Solent is now stepping away from playing to coach, so still staying around the organisation and stepping into a coaching position, but not playing. So, apart from that, I haven't seen much in terms of who's back and who's not in terms of players. So I guess for them, it's about whether they can build on that to, ultimately end up in finals and maybe defend this year. The other big piece of news really is Wayne from Birmingham has obviously stepped down as head coach. He has been the head coach of Birmingham Lions women's for as long as I can remember. I'm not going to say forever because I don't know if it is forever. But for as long as I can remember, Wayne has been the head coach there. So it will be interesting to see what we get from Birmingham this year, right? They've got a new head coach. How many of their players are going to come back? How does that team stack up? Are they still going to be the Birmingham that we expect? I don't know. It remains to be seen. And then obviously we've got Teesside were strong challengers last year. Made it to the semis, challenged, pushed hard all season, actually got a win over Solent earlier in the season. So again, I expect them to be tough, and then we just hope that Manchester can build on last year, right? It was a bit of a tough season, a bit of a, I don't know what the politically correct term to use is, but a bit of a up and down bureaucratic season, shall we say? Yeah. Maybe we'll put it that way. So it'll be interesting to see if they can build and, get some momentum and maybe, get some more points on the board and maybe even get an elusive win. So that's kind of where I'm at with Nines. Obviously, London, being London, I expect them to be strong. They've got some amazing players. They've got amazing talent. What'll be interesting for me is, and I don't know if you covered it last week in the contact pod, is to see how that organisation works and functions with the move of the London Warriors seniors team out of BAFA leagues. So I'm not entirely clear how that's going to function, be separated, what it's going to do to the remaining teams. I don't know if you covered this last week. I didn't listen, but it's maybe not because we haven't got to youth yet. I assume we'll have this conversation in the youth structure as well. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to affect the remaining teams or how that's going to work. So hopefully
The one thing that Manchester could potentially build on is their entirely new coaching setup. Scott Tomlinson, who's gone now as the head coach, alongside the new offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, you know, it looks like the Manchester Titans are really trying to build the women's team back up. And I think it's always great to see when you've got coaches, you know, from the mixed adults game, from a national champion, then going to the women's. It's only going to grow the game, and that's just going to be a great thing to see. And then when we go to the regional sevens, I think there's, Stuart, you can probably talk about this more, about the inter-conference north-south games and how that all's going to work out and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I believe there's going to be 4 different tournaments across like north and south, but the first tournament is going to be cross conference. So I am 95% sure, you're running me off memory now, that it's going to be held at Sheffield Hallam, and all 6 teams are going to attend, and they're going to play a variation of everybody. I did release, actually the women's was out quite a little while ago, but I've pinned all 3 of these disciplines that we're going to discuss tonight on the top of our Instagram pages, because I released the fixtures for all 3, apart from U19s actually, because we still haven't had confirmation of who's dropping out, which we'll come on to. But yeah, certainly for the women's, they're on there. So pop yourselves over and have a look at that. But I think with the number of teams we have, I think it is obviously tricky to pull together a schedule that allows, you know, everybody to play everybody a sensible amount of times without getting sick of each other. So to have that cross-conference tournament, I think is a really good, I think I've called it somewhere like a really good festival to have everybody. So like Chester will face the 3 from the south. Sorry, Cheshire. Probably won't like me calling them Chester. Cheshire will play the 3 from the south. Newcastle will play the 3 from the south, and vice versa. So that will probably give us a good line in the sand when it comes to playoff football as well, and then how those tournaments are going to work themselves out. But yeah, to circle back round to your point, it's great to see all 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 teams, that was quick maths, returning from last season. I know the women's game's kind of been a bit up and down in terms of numbers the last couple of seasons, and I know Kiwi touched on the participants certainly around the Solent team that are going in and out. So yeah, hopefully this discipline sort of levels out now, and I know that the GB women's teams have definitely 2 fixtures Kiwi over summer, or is it just the 1?
I think they've got 1 home and 1 away. Do they have 1 home?
Yeah, that
and
might
1 away?
be what I'm thinking. Yeah, because they've definitely got 1 at Butts Park in the middle of the season, haven't they? Sorry, the Nick Newbold Stadium. That's going to take some getting used to. Yeah, everything's name changing this year, isn't it? So yeah, it'll be great to see. And I believe that the women's sevens tournaments are taking place in Staffordshire. As I quickly scramble over to the BAFA website.
Yes, Staffordshire.
It is Staffordshire Rugby Club on the 15th of August. So it's great to see another venue coming up, and having officiated at Staffordshire Surge games. They've got a really nice setup. I think these were held at Oxford's Tilsley Park last year, weren't they? Staffordshire Rugby Club is a lot closer to the pitch, and I know that the clubhouse is really nice there as well. I think the only issue could be parking at Staffordshire Rugby Club, but I'm sure that everybody will figure that out when we get there, and we'll come up with the logistics a little bit closer to home. But yeah, BAFA have released all of the finals, days, dates, times, places on their website, and I know that Isaac's written a story today that we'll put out on our socials. So yeah, after you've all listened to this, if you want to head over, you can give it a read, and we'll do some infographics for you as well.
I'm just putting it out there now. I'm actually going to be in Lanzarote when the sevens finals is on, so I won't be there. I know, poor planning. It's my birthday on the 19th of August, and it's one that has a 0 on the end. So we shall not discuss that any further.
30.
About it. Obviously,
I thought you'd already turned 21. I thought you'd already turned 21. Can't turn 20 again.
So I am going away because I'm just going to pretend it's not happening, basically. So I won't be here for the sevens final. So before anyone hates on me for not being there, I'm putting it out there now that I'm not going to be there. But I do think that this regional sevens division is wide open. Like what we saw last year was teams do well at some games and not well at others. They, some teams dominated and then kind of capitulated a little towards the end of the season. You know, like I do honestly think that this, of the Premiership as well, but the Sevens division is wide open. Like it's up for anybody's taking this, and it'll be interesting to see how these teams come back and have recruited and field teams going into this season. Because, you know, it really is for anyone. And also the whole cross-conference thing is like a pretty staple of the NWFL. It's something we've done for years and years. When we stopped doing it, it was really sorely missed because, as you mentioned before, Stuart, what's often happened is you end up with 4 teams in a division and you play them several times and it's, you know, all gets a bit boring. So I'm really happy to see that they've brought this kind of cross-conference back for the Sevens, because I think it does add the diversity of the game. It gives people different, you know, opportunities, different teams to play. And I think it's, you know, as you say, a bit more of a festival vibe that we've always kind of had around the NWFL. So yeah, it's nice to see it back, and I'm sure these teams are all looking forward to getting out there. There are a couple of teams that are in associate status this year, so it could be interesting to see how that builds into potentially more teams next season. You know, hopefully we see sustainable teams coming through. As you mentioned, Stuart, we've seen a lot of teams up and down and teams disappear and all of that. So, you know, that's not what we want to see. So hopefully we can see some, you know, new, stronger teams coming through to rebuild the ranks in women's contact football. And I really hope that we see a Scotland team back soon, because I think it's really, you know, sad that we've had, you know, no Scottish team in the league for the last 2 seasons. Obviously, we had Caledonia the season before that. And, you know, prior to that, we had Edinburgh and an EKP team. So, you know, I hope we can see some contact football come back in Scotland.
Yeah, it's always great when this stuff's kind of like growing in it. You know, women's football is growing. You talk about the associate teams, but we know there's a lot more teams that need to come out of the woodwork to show its full potential. And yeah, I think it's going to be good when eventually all these teams come back. If Peterborough can get back into the Premiership, they were there a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
if I remember rightly. That was one
they
point.
played some nice.
You know, yeah. If Leeds can get back, you know, and really show the talent that the Women's Football League has to offer. Okay. Next, we'll be talking about our under 19s Division 1. Okay. So in the Scotland and North, we have the East Kilbride Pirates, Edinburgh Napier Knights coming off of their BUCS campaign, where it sees them in the Prem North now. The Highland Wildcats, the Lancashire Buccaneers, and the Manchester Titans. In the Midlands, we'll see the Birmingham Lions, Chester Romans, Nottingham Seasons, Sheffield Giants. And in the Southwest, Kent Exiles, Rushmore Knights, Salt Destroyers, South East Renegades, and in the Southeast, Hertfordshire Cheaters, Ipswich Cardinals, London Blitz, and the Oxford Saints. And I think again this year it's going to be between the likes of the London Blitz, the Rushmore Knights. We've seen how good they are in the U16s, and the Napier Knights building off of their BUCS success. And you know, the coaches there, they often say they're separate, but I think a lot of the coaches will be the same, and a couple of the same players will probably stick around after the first year of uni. And then the Nottingham Seasons, I think there's one big team in each of these divisions, isn't there, Stuart? It's that kind of thing of, you know, we've got one kind of stalwart in each part of the country at the minute.
We do. You will notice a couple of additions. So in the D1 Scotland, we've added 2 teams. You've taken the graphic off the screen. So it is, where's my memory gone? Oh, no, sorry. We haven't added 2 teams. It's kind of merged a division. So we've merged Scotland and North. So we have lost a couple of big names across the Division 1 landscape. So Lancashire Buccaneers and Manchester Titans kind of join the 3 Scottish teams, and they're going to play some neutral venue games to try and avoid massive trips. So I think I've seen a couple of places where Highland and Lancashire, or Highland and Titans, play neutral venue games, so that they can still sort of get a decent schedule about them. You will notice that the Midlands is kind of spread out a little bit. So we've got.
I was literally just looking at that, going, since when do we say Chester is in the Midlands?
I think like Midlands should be in the inverted commas.
Like,
but yeah, there's
south of Sheffield is like
so you'll notice that the Coventry Phoenix and the Northants Knights don't have U19s teams this year. They obviously have had numbers issues, whether that's through graduation, whether that's through recruitment, retention, whatever. So yeah, those are two big names. Sandwell, I don't think played last year, so they're sort of on their second year of hiatus. So yeah, there's a couple of big name teams this year that have dropped out, that have kind of forced BAFA to think, okay, how can we make this interesting? How can we have a good go at it across the North and the Midlands? So yeah, I think that sort of balance is good. And again, we talked about that festival of football for NWFL, for U19's contact, for the likes of Lancashire and Manchester to have new faces that they're going to play off against, is only going to help grow the game at U19 level. And then in the South, they've kind of rolled the dice a little bit again, and they've kind of moved the divisions around. And I think that Southwest is probably going to be the most juiciest division across the entire BAFA season, in all honesty. To have Rushmore, Solent and South London Renegades all in the same division, I think is some interesting planning from the U19's competition management group. I mean, the Southeast is still interesting. We've obviously got the Cardinals in there, the Cheetahs in there, London Blitz. But again, you'll notice one big omission, and that is the London Warriors under 19s. But that's based off sort of what we thought was going to happen. You might just have to flick onto Division 2 and we'll touch on them. But I did see today that they have actually released a fixture list. So it might be that I have to go back to the drawing board and go, okay, new alignments, new fixtures, and look at this. So although these may not be the most 100%, U19 is the one discipline that we still don't have all the information for, unfortunately.
And, for the Lancashire Buccaneers, I feel quite bad for their organisation at the minute. They're in that really far northern one in Div 2 in the mixed adult contact, where they've got to travel to Darlington and Gateshead and everywhere that's not close. And now they've got to travel to, East Kilbride up to Edinburgh, neutral ground with Highland. And that's just, it's a lot of time spent on the road for the Buccaneers to see if they can carry on how well they played at the end of last season, making a playoff run and nearly going to the national final as well, which was surprising, to a lot of people. But as you said, Div 2. So in the north, we have the North East Academy Giants, the Scunthorpe Alphas, and the Yorkshire Academy Rams. The South East/Central Kent South East Legion, the London Warriors, the Northants Knights, and the Wembley Stallions. Of course, we don't know if the London Warriors are going to be in Div 2 or in Div 1 or whatever. And the South Coastal/West, the Bristol Aztecs, Poole Dolphins, and the South Wales Warriors. In this, we have the exit of the Shropshire Revolution. We got news about that quite recently. They will be playing this year. So that North Division, instead of being 4 teams, it's only 3. So yeah, we've lost a couple of teams here, haven't we? From last year, if I can remember rightly, which is quite sad to see. It'll be interesting to see what Bristol Aztecs can do again. We saw them in U16s last year. I think they're new to the U19s game. So it'd be really interesting to see if they've graduated and how they're going to really play this year. See if it's going to be a lot of SGS guys, to see if what they can do. And then, in that Southeast Central, you're looking at the likes of the Northants Knights, the Wembley Stallions. That now is probably the most competitive division, I'd argue. Just if you just look at the names they've got, it's 2 Prem sides. Well, London Warriors not in the Prem anymore, obviously, in the European leagues, but that is probably going to be the most competitive out of the 3 here. And then in the north, you got Yorkshire, who made it to the finals last year. It didn't go the way that they wanted to. The Scunthorpe Alphas, which had a Scunthorpe, had a Humber, had the Warhawks, Alpha Hawks, I don't know. And then the North East Academy Giants, who always put out a strong side, and they've been at the top of Div 2 before as well. So I think Div 2 this year is going to be really interesting. So yeah, Stuart, what do you think of Div 2? Do you think it's going to play out anything like last year?
I think you have very succinctly summed up what my brain was doing while you were talking. That Southeast/Central division, 2 of their teams made playoffs last season. The Legion and Wembley Stallions both made the playoff day. Wembley lost in the final to Poole, and Southeast beat Yorkshire in the 3rd, 4th place playoff. So it'd be interesting to see, certainly at this age group, how many players teams have lost and how many players teams have got coming up from their U16s. So yeah, I think unders football, sort of under 16s and under 19s, is always a case of, okay, who has that sort of super program and who can graduate from U16s to U19s and then U19s to either women's contact or a mixed adult contact, based off, you know, how the players want to move across. And yeah, for me, it's obviously a shame to see Shropshire go. That I know that they tried really, really hard this pre-season to sort of get a team going. There was lots of activity on socials. They were pushing that hard. Estelle, who's part of our content group, obviously was trying to get that together with head coach who plays for the adult contact team. So yeah, and again, this sort of hotbed of Midlands football, we've obviously got the Birmingham Lions Academy. I was about to call them Birmingham Bulls. The Birmingham's Lions Academy, which is a mixture of them and the Birmingham Bulls.
Yeah.
It's kind of sensible to do that in the Midlands, which obviously, was it helped or not? Did it cause Sandwell's demise? I don't know. But yeah, having a new team or another team, obviously Tamworth/Coventry, obviously moved across, and then they moved to Coventry, and they've fallen by the wayside this season. So yeah, I think, and it's kind of creeping into the mixed adult contact game, isn't it, where we're starting to lose teams because they're merging. And I think if you're getting almost regionalized teams as opposed to pockets of teams, I think that's only going to help grow the game in the next 3 to 5 years, especially with a little bit of support and investment that we've seen that we'll touch upon about the Union Jack Classic and them helping out and partnering with BAFA to get all of these leagues a little bit more exposure ahead of the massive college football game that's coming in September. That once again, it keeps, every time I hear it, I'm like, college football coming here, great, let's get involved. But I was just trying to look at the fixtures, and yeah, there's kind of Division 2 level, it's tournament based. So yeah, there'll be different tournaments all over. And again, this is something that at U19 level we will release when we have it. With the Warriors releasing their fixture list today, got me thinking, okay, well, maybe they're still in. Shropshire, obviously, we know are out. I very nearly posted this the other day and somebody said just hang fire on that. So I have, and I've reached out to the competition management group to try and get a little bit of clarity. This is the only discipline that we still haven't had confirmed, so haven't released fixture graphics for.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they could do much like the National Women's Football League, if they can, perhaps have a mix of some sort. Let's get Yorkshire playing Bristol, or Scunthorpe travelling to Wembley or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Let's try and make it a bit more interesting rather than the North, where them 3 teams played each other last year. They know what's kind of coming, don't they? But no, that for the U19's alignment, it's going to be interesting to see when it does get confirmed, if it is as what we think. But one thing that has been confirmed, I believe, Stuart, you might have to correct me on this, is the U16s alignments. Wow, that's small, and wow, exactly. I'm gonna have to get a magnifying glass here. Right, so in Scotland, we've got the East Kilby Pirates, Edinburgh Napier Knights, Glasgow Tigers, Highland Wildcats, and the Paisley Bears, who returned from last year. In the North, we've got the Chester Romans, Darlington Steam, Lancaster Buccaneers, Manchester Titans, North East Academy Giants, and the Yorkshire Academy Assassins. In the Midlands, we've lost the Coventry Phoenix and the Nuneaton Jaguars, which are two clubs that have been to national championships God knows how many times. But we've got the Birmingham Lions Academy, Lincolnshire Bombers, Northants Knights, and the Sheffield Giants in the Midlands, which seems a bit strange. And in the Southwest, we've lost the Hertfordshire Cheaters, again, another side that's been national finals before. But we have got the Oxford Saints, Poole Dolphins, Solent Seahawks, South Wales Warriors, and the Swindon Storm. And in the Southeast, Ipswich Cardinals, Kent Exiles, London Blitz. We've lost the Warriors. Are they in Europe as well? Who knows? And the Rushmore Knights and the Wembley Stallions. Phew. Okay. Right. A lot of teams there. Vic, have you got any thoughts on this at all, or is this completely dystopian?
I was like in my head going, what can I remember about this from last year? Because obviously I've done nothing on any contact for like months because I've been too busy being focused on flag. So I'm going to say I don't have a lot, although obviously losing the likes of Coventry and Nuneaton from the Midlands, does leave that division a bit of a tough one in terms of there only being 4 teams. I don't know. Do they stay within their conferences in this, right? It's tournament. They don't play cross conference.
Yes, it's all tournament based, yeah.
So that's going to make it, it's tough to play the same, 3 teams repetitively. It also, I think, leads to like more questions around when you start to play in playoffs and you're playing other teams and you've not had the experience of playing different teams more regularly. I think it has an impact. So it'll be interesting to see how those teams cope with that kind of really, small division. And then obviously it's 2 huge teams, as you say, that have been around in youth football for a long time. Coventry, particularly one of those sort of super clubs, as we talked about before, kind of, struggling to obviously recruit into the age bracket here for the younger age group. So, something for them to build on. And then, Nuneaton, I don't know a lot about youth football, but I know that they've been around for a long time. I've heard a lot about them. As you say, they've definitely been to finals. So
they used to bring cheerleaders to U16 finals day. Well, yeah. But no, it's kind of sad to see stuff like happen at Coventry, isn't it? Because they've got no U16s, no U19s. That's worrying for your adult team. Is it?
Yeah.
It's not a good sign if you're. No. It's always good to have that stream of players that you have built up and you've given them the system, and it's you've built them as players of how you want to mold them and how you want them to play, and now you've lost that. You've lost the two steps to really harness that. It's quite upsetting in a way, isn't it? Especially if you're a Coventry Phoenix fan.
Well, and I think Coventry, as I said, were always one of those teams that kind of, were that sort of not fully a super club, but they, they had a pipeline of players, they had a development program, they did a lot of that. And to see both their youth teams, not there this year is that's a huge loss, as you say. And it does question, we know that the teams that do well at adult level generally are the teams that have that pipeline and development of players coming through. So, you only hope that those players that were going to play have managed to go somewhere else to play.
Yeah.
But then, I don't know, tell me what's happened to London here, because I didn't realize that they weren't playing. They haven't got a team. They haven't got the players. Do we know what's...
That's probably a question better asked for Stuart than me.
Stuart? Anyone?
You can try and ask me. But again, I've only really worked on this for about the last week or so since I had the structure sent out to me. So yeah, I'm kind of yet to reach out to a lot of these teams and say, okay, guys, like, 1, are you okay? Like, what's happened? And 2, what is going to happen down the road? The only constant that we've seen in the U16 football is above Hadrian's Wall. It's sort of in Scotland. So those 5 teams remain unchanged. And I know that division is always hotly contested. So obviously last season, East Kilbride Pirates came away with champions of that division. But having seen what the Napier Knights have been doing at uni level, whether that filters down to their U16 and their U19 teams, and it will be really nice to see Paisley get a win on the board this season, because they unfortunately went 0-8 last year. The rest of it, yes, it is like a terminating train, like a terminating train at London Euston. It is all change. So we've seen 3 divisions crunched down into 2. So we've seen Chester, Lancashire and Manchester Titans move across to the North Division. And then this kind of rematched Midlands Division -2 now via the health checks. So that obviously won't have helped. that one. And then the South, again, we've seen 3 divisions kind of merged into 2. And again, looking at how tasty these look, that sort of Southeast division, again, kind of looks like it could be one to really keep your eye on and get your chops around their results and crunch that data. I know Andy will be getting spreadsheets coming out left, right, and centre for us to look at and digest. And yeah, the likes of Ipswich, Cardinals, the London Blitz team, who are always competitive at unders levels. I saw they released their under 19s coaching staff, and that is pretty formidable. And that will obviously have a drip down effect to the U16 teams. To have Kent in there as well, it's always sort of their program. Again, they've got unders, they've got women's, they've got mixed adult contact. So yeah, that kind of super program that I alluded to previously is kind of prevalent there at Kent Exiles. So yeah, be really interesting to see how these new divisions, how these mixed match divisions with teams that may not have faced each other very many times really sort of pans out throughout the season. And then the playoff structure, I know I didn't touch on it for U19s because it's not 100% confirmed with who's competing, but U16 level is exactly as it has been previously. So they again will be at Staffordshire Rugby Club. They'll have a playoff tournament and then finals day, and that's over the weekend of the 29th and 30th. Not quite sure. I'm just quickly reading. 4 plate teams, 4 final teams qualifying. So it looks like it's going to be unders on the Saturday and then mixed adult on the Sunday. So if you're a U16 player or team rep, obviously book Saturday the 29th off. And if you're mixed adult, Division 1 and Division 2, book the 30th, Sunday the 30th of August off in your diaries.
Yeah, one thing when I was writing that article, which I saw, which was back, is the Div 1 and Div 2 finals, which is something that got completely abolished last year. Does that mean there's no more up-down game?
Correct.
Does that mean that?
Correct. So we
yeah. You love to see it.
Yeah. So I think that experiment, the experiment was an interesting one last season, but yeah, I think that the feedback about bowl games was louder than the feedback about yo-yo games, and I think that's credit to the management committee who have listened to that and said, yeah, okay, let's give you your dues, let's sort of let you have your moment in the sun. Granted, it won't be on the same day as Brit Bowl. You'll get your own sort of special day, your own special weekend, which is the weekend before Brit Bowl, because Brit Bowl 38 is going to be the 5th and 6th of September, where we'll see NWFL and under 19s on the Saturday the 5th, and then we'll see the mixed adult Premiership Brit Bowl standalone game on the 6th, which I believe I read somewhere is going to be a 1 p.m. kickoff. They're trying to sort of avoid that clashing with the NFL in the evening. And then also an interesting little anecdote. Obviously, we've got flag back underneath the BAFA banner for the first time in a few years. They're also holding flag finals, both national flag and youth flag, at the Nick Newbold Stadium, Butts Park Arena, to you and me, the weekend after Brit Bowl. So on the 12th and 13th of September, they're holding the flag finals in a stadium, which I know the way we HNC it got very excited about, didn't they? And yeah, they posted up there. But on our article that goes out, it will have League Republic sites across all 6 disciplines: mixed adult, U19, U16, women's contact, mixed flag, and youth flag. They will all go out when the article is published on the website, and we do a fancy graphic for it.
Yeah, apologies if you can hear the sounds of Bradford with fireworks going off in the background, but
I'm glad it's fireworks and not anything else. I was like, some gunshots or backfiring cars.
I'm hoping it's fireworks. Okay, I'm hoping. Oh yeah, it's fireworks. I can see them. Right, but anyway, but no, I think it's great that BAFA have listened. It's all what you want, isn't it? Really, from a governing body, to take the feedback on and change it. And yeah, the up-down game did work. At the end of the day, the teams who got promoted and the teams who stayed were the ones who should be in that position. But now with this playoffs, it's so much better. I think it just helps everything.
They're back. Sorry, just so I'm clear, they're back to doing playoffs and not yo-yo games, not both.
Not just playoffs.
No.
Okay, and I think that's the thing for me, right? Is I actually think the yo-yo games wasn't a terrible idea.
No.
We guaranteed
Yeah.
that we got the right teams in the right divisions, at the bottom and the top. But I do understand why people were upset about bowl games not being played. So, I appreciate we can't have everything. But firmly, I kind of was a fan of the yo-yo game. So,
in an ideal world, you'd have it much like the BUCS season, wasn't you? Where the Prem North and South go up against each other until you get that. Well, you don't get that in the last 2 years, but we're supposed to get the yo-yo game where the national champion of the Prem North and South play the bottom. But obviously, we haven't had that for the last 2 years. But that'd be in an ideal world. But no, I think it's a great thing for BAFA that they have listened to the community. And it looks good. It looks good for them, doesn't it? It's good PR that they are listening to the wider audience.
I think what'll be interesting, and I know this isn't a flag podcast, so I won't talk about it for too long, but I think the whole bringing flag to BUCS Park or whatever it's called, Nick somebody or other's stadium these days, is an interesting one because flag finals has very traditionally been in Manchester, rightly or wrongly, but it's that really had that festival thing going on, flag finals. It's 2 full days of football. Hopefully it's sunny. As Stuart knows, it's not always sunny.
Nope.
But, it'll be interesting to see how that goes for flag this year because, there's not going to be that kind of youth Division 1, Prem, everybody there, everybody playing, 10 fields, Stuart, at least, of flag going on at the same time is kind of how it's always run. So I don't know if I'm sold, but let's see.
I think it kind of falls back to that realignment of the National Flag Football League. They've obviously got that national tier.
Yes.
So I think the amount of teams reaching playoff might be tweaked. So yeah, where you've traditionally had those 2 pitches of 3 or 4 games going on, you're probably having fewer teams at finals day. So you can almost reduce the pitches that you need, but gain the stand. It'll just be interesting to see how many, players, partners, players, families, teams, supporters come down to Coventry for the actual festival, as it were, and how BAFA market them and how that goes about with the flag football community. I'm sure we'll see the same old familiar faces there, but it'll just be interesting to see how it is sort of ran from a BAFA point of view rather than the previous competition management groups that we've seen the last few years.
And it's in the first time that a BAFA finals has taken a competition for U16s anyways, for a non-mixed adult women's football league or a U19s. I remember it being in the Keepmoat Stadium in Doncaster, which is now the Eco Power, years ago.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. Great, not I wouldn't say a great stadium. Bad memories there, but no, it's good. It's good to see that flag and the U16s are getting that stage. You know what I mean? They're being put as headliners now rather than stuff before.
Yeah.
They're getting put at what is our national stadium? Would you say? But well, it's not BUCS Park, but it is pretty much the national stadium. All the national teams play there. Finals are there.
No, I guess you
the
would.
Closest thing we've got, right?
Exactly. So it's great now that flag are getting. It's an Olympic sport. People, let's drum up support for our athletes that might be going to LA in whenever it is 2030 or 28 or something. There we go. Or 2 years off. I'd be late for my flight. But
yeah, turn up and no one
exactly.
would be there.
But no, in other news as well, going out, is it tomorrow, Stuart? We've got our recruitment drive.
It will be tomorrow now. Yep, we'll probably be finishing a bit late, so I'll probably put it out tomorrow.
So if you're interested in graphic design, video editing, joining the podcast, anything to do with American football, maybe live streaming one day, who knows? We're looking to get more volunteers on and kind of grow our team. We've got a great team so far, and it'd be really good to see who we can add to it to make this the best we possibly can. Yeah.
I don't know if you've clocked Coach Russ's comment on Facebook. He said every team deserves to have finals experiences. Obviously, we were talking about the Div 1 and Div 2 bowl games back, and yeah, completely agree, Coach. We touched upon how sort of BAFA had listened to the feedback about teams having bowl games. So we're glad that they've sort of listened to that bit and they have taken that on board.
Yeah, I think what we were saying wasn't that it shouldn't be bowl games. I think we were all saying that we also enjoyed the yo-yo games, and for me personally, it's a shame we can't have both. But we can't have everything. Unlimited money. Union Jack Classic can give us some more money maybe in the future, and we can have both.
Just market and more everything. Just more teams, more stadiums.
All of the things.
Just everything now.
Yeah.
But I think that's all we've got time for tonight. Stuart, is there anything else, pressing news or anything? I don't think there is there?
Not that I can think of. I sort of alluded to the mixed adult contact predictions. We're going to share a link with a website out that we have shamelessly stolen from the way we HNC it. And I've inputted all the mixed adult contact teams into it and inputted the fixtures. And we'll probably release that ahead of the first round of fixtures, which is not this weekend. It's next weekend, which is scary to think about.
Yeah.
There can't be any games this weekend because all the referees are somewhere in the Midlands having their convention, which I will be at. So, yeah, there probably won't be any IBB social media work going out this weekend, but there'll be a heck of a lot of BAFRA media going out this weekend.
No,
so,
yeah,
shameless plug.
Already sort of thinking about next weekend, but we'll see. But no, yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Stuart, and special guest Kiwi this week. Thank you for joining us. And yeah, we'll be back maybe potentially probably next week, won't we? So yeah.